Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Debrief podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. It's Amy, and I am joined by my co-hosts, as always, Phil, Kathleen, and Scott.
Hey, guys.
Hi guys, there it is again.
She hesitated on me this time. Welcome aboard, guys.
Well, I have to say, I got thrown a little bit off because every once in a while when you hit record, I don't get the countdown. I usually see a countdown, but for some reason today it didn't pop up. So you pointed at me and I was like, oh, I guess that, yeah, you gave me the finger and I was like, I guess that's my cue to get this show on the road. So
Action.
So hello guys. It's been quite a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, long time no see, huh?
Been a minute.
So yeah, so we had our get together over the weekend that we talked about and alluded to in last week's episode where Phil and his family were going and I got FOMO, so I booked a trip and we are now back from that trip. Phil and his wife Emily surprised their kids on Thursday morning?
Thursday morning, yep.
With a fake dining video that Kathleen, Scott, and I did in World Showcase a couple of weeks ago. They thought they were watching. Well, why don't you describe it, Phil?
Well, they thought they were watching a Scott's Tips for Dining. I told them that you guys gave them a shout out in the most recent video and then put it on for them to watch. And lo and behold, it was you guys saying, can't wait to see you down here at Disney. Did you guys catch Mackenzie's delayed reaction?
Yes, I was just going to say, I love how she's watching it and then all of a sudden it's done and then she's like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, she turns her head.
But she takes like 2 more bites of the muffin first.
Yeah.
She's just laughing along and, hey, they talked about me and it's one bite. And then halfway through the second bite, she just turns towards me and I have the camera rolling and she's got this puzzled look on her face. And then it's full-blown excitement.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
It was very cute. Yeah, very, very cute.
Well, it was a longer vacation than we expected, though. It took a little longer to get down there than we thought and a day and a half longer to come home.
Yeah, so you had a pretty brutal travel day going there.
Hey, yeah, we got a little delay getting to Florida.
You were supposed to land an hour before me, I think, and ended up landing an hour or so after me.
Yeah, an hour and a quarter after you. You beat us to the resort by a long way. And then my car service couldn't find me in the airport. And then he took 2 wrong turns getting to the resort. And this is when you know that you go probably too often or often enough, depending on your point of view. He missed 2 exits, and I called him out on the exits he missed to get to the resort because I knew the route better than he did, and he's a local.
Well, the good news is that you made it.
We did. We made it, and we had an amazing time. We got to get together with a bunch of our clubbers. We got to get Mackenzie to a gymnastics training event with Olympic medalists and D1 athletes and D1 coaches. She had a blast. She tells me, did I tell you? We're leaving, and I say, how did you like it? She says, Dad, you just don't understand. When you get to train with an Olympic silver medalist, it changes your life.
Well, that's good. So it means that it was all worth it. Everything, even the little mix-up you had coming home.
Yeah, we can get to that later.
I can't wait to talk about that. That and find out why that happened.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, remember that offer I made before the episode that's been rescinded?
It's off the table now.
It's off the table.
So, I mean, you just touched on it, Phil, but we got together with the clubbers, and for anybody who is not aware, clubbers is our little nickname that Scott penned when he started doing his dining reviews. It's what we call the members of the DVC Clubhouse. So we had a kind of an informal, casual get together. We have an annual meetup every September. Well, I mean, we did it once, but we're doing it again this September coming up, called Clubhouse Weekend. Last December, we had our Clubhouse holiday reunion over a weekend in December. And we called this little get together our Clubhouse Spring Fling. And so we had a group of about 15 to 20 clubbers who just happened to be at Disney World the same weekend that we were all there. And so we got together at Cruise Cup Lounge at the Yachts Club on the Friday night. And it was a really, really nice time. It was so great to be able to meet some people that we had never met in person and to see people that we have met at our other meetups and, that we've developed friendships with, to get to hang out with them. Kathleen and I actually that afternoon before the Spring Fling meetup, we had lunch at Beaches and Cream, and there was a couple that walked in, and the woman in the couple was wearing a DVC t-shirt. So I, of course, approached them and introduced myself to them and invited them to join us. And now they're members of the Facebook group. So they came to our meetup at Cruise Cup, which was really nice. So Phil, it was the first time that you'd met a lot of them, right? A lot of the people that were there.
Yeah, I think the only people I truly knew were you guys, Jacqueline, and Emily. Everybody else was new to me, though. I mean, there were a couple of people that felt like meeting old friends, right? Those people that you've engaged with over the last, let's call it a year on Facebook, and kind of formed those online friendships. Christy being one of them. We're pretty sure we were separated at birth. We are pretty much the same people. And her husband is, I think, the identical twin to my wife. They are the same people. And to be able to meet them and their kids, and they had their granddaughter with them, and a whole bunch of other, it was really great. And you guys know me. I may be loud and outspoken on the podcast and online, but when you get me in person, I'm rather quiet. I just kind of tucked myself in the corner and let you take over.
I don't know. When you walked into Cruise Cup, I joked with Kathleen that you walked in like a game show host.
How is that?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Yeah, because Scott wasn't there yet, but you walked in and you were like, very, very friendly and outgoing and saying hello to everybody. And it didn't seem like you were uncomfortable or introverted at all.
And then I went and hung in the corner with my son and Christy and her family.
She said you walked in and said, "Hey, you guys."
It's possible. I kind of look like the guy from Goonies. Hey, you guys.
Hey, you
and then I
guys.
went and sat down.
Slop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that.
Or is that Chunk?
No, that
I
was
don't know.
Sloth.
I don't remember.
It was
That
Sloth. Yeah.
Well, they became best friends, so it's hard to remember who did what.
Right. Didn't Chunk take him home? You're going to come live with me.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I missed the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were trying to get me to give him a whole, what was it, a welcome aboard before I left, and I refused to do so.
Yeah. So disappointing.
Sorry. Story of my life, disappointment.
But that was the day when we left. Wasn't that when we saw the boat that said welcome aboard? Oh, no, that
Yes,
was when
you
we
sent
left
me a
dinner
picture of
the
that.
next night. But at the meetup, we also had DVC Mary with her. For anybody listening, Mary is a member of the group, and she's the one who makes all of her skirts and wears matching tops and socks and shoes to match her outfit.
Notice she kept her distance after you warned her off of me the night before, looking at me like I was some convicted felon.
I didn't. What did I say?
We were over at Boardwalk. You told Mary I was the troublemaker and she had to look out for me.
I mean,
Mary and I were destined to be besties, and you wrecked it for me.
I was just joking.
No, I don't know if she took it that way.
And we had Carrie McPherson there from the DVC resale store.
She is delightful. Can I just say that right now? She is delightful.
She is delightful, and she told a really funny story about when she was a a young she was a Disney cast member for many years, and she told a story about when she was newly in the position where she was kind of thrown into a job that she was kind of voluntold to do, and it ended up kind of being the greeter for Margaret Thatcher.
God, Austin Powers just popped in my head. I'm so
You
sorry.
too. That's
Yeah.
immediately what I thought of.
Margaret Thatcher nude on a cold winter's day. Sorry.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Oh, sorry, I get sidetracked.
So she told us that story. It was really funny. So if anybody runs into her, you should have her tell you the story, because I don't want to steal her thunder or not do justice to the story, because it was really funny. Yeah, we had, you mentioned Jacqueline and Emily were there from the group, Cindy and Joe, Christy and her family, and then
Gina.
Jim and Paula. Yeah, and Gina. Jim and Paula were the couple that we met at Beaches and Cream, and then Gina, she was there as well for a little while. So it was a lot of fun.
Don't forget Luke.
And Luke.
Luke was
Phil's
super
son.
happy to be there, and then he got super quiet and kind of wanted to sit in the corner, but he thought it was just the coolest thing ever to walk in with the whole podcast crew.
Yeah. This is
Dawn was there too.
Oh yeah, and Dawn was there. I think that's everybody, right?
Yeah, I think
I
the
think
big
so.
question, though, before we get to that, is we need a resort review. Did you give us a room tour of the Disney Huff Resort, or how did this go? How was the room service? Did you have amenities? What was the view? Were the cast members
I
welcoming?
got a complimentary bottle of Fiji water.
Fantastic.
Can we talk about the what do I want to say? I almost said escort service. The ride back and forth. I just want to talk about you in the car blaring Taylor Swift, but
Well, that was on the first night when we arrived and we met up. I met you guys. I took a lift from the airport and met you guys at the yacht club, and we had some so we had our dinner at Ale and Compass Lounge, which is delightful, by the way. I love it there. And then we met up with Phil and his family, and then on our way back, because I stayed at Kathleen and Scott's house for the first night, and on the way back, I insisted that we listen to
every song.
the new Taylor Swift album. And I was in the back seat belting out, which, by the way, will not be the only time that you heard about me belting out on this trip, but this was the first time that I was belting out tunes on the top of my lungs, singing along to Taylor Swift. So
that was a good kickoff to an epic weekend.
it was. And Scott and Kathleen's hospitality was top notch. Highly recommend. 5 out of 5.
Well, thank you.
What's the rack rate?
24 points a night.
I like it. Go big.
That's Polynesian points.
Hey, we're deluxe.
Yeah, exactly.
No old Key West here.
No
it also
golf
comes
carts.
with a complimentary shuttle to the parks. So
It's a big deal.
Yep.
So, we all stayed at the yacht club, and I didn't, I meant to take a video. I said to Kathleen, I am a terrible content creator. Like, I'm not really a content creator. I try to be one, but I'm always so present in the moment of what I'm doing when I'm at Disney and enjoying myself so much. I never think oh, I should take my camera out and capture some of this, because I'm just having too much fun. So
We thought the same thing after the fact. So we were in room 3001 at the yacht club. It is a corner room and it's enormous. There's a hallway that goes around a corner, leads you to the room. And we were so overawed by the size of the room, it did not occur to me to take a video until my children had strewn their things from one end of the room to the other. And at that point, there was no way I was giving you a room tour. But I think we were actually closer to the Dolphin elevators than we were to the Yacht Club elevators where we were.
Those rooms are really nice. They remind me of the Grand Floridian as far as the layout.
yeah, and not Phil's room, because they had all those crazy turns to get to the main part of their room. But my room, it was on the fourth floor. It overlooked some trees. You could see the parking lot in the distance. So I mean, Phil, the view of your room was amazing.
We scored, which is why we were not going to complain. You and I had both booked the resort view rooms because those were the ones that had the 35 or 40%, whatever the offer was for the APs. And we were getting off the plane at the airport, and I got my alert that the room was ready. So, of course, the first thing I do is always go to touring plans, find the
Same
room, and get
here.
the resort view. And I pulled up the view and I said, this has to be wrong. There's no way. This has to be someone leaning over the balcony, precariously perched with a phone in their hand to take this photo. And it wasn't. We had this beautiful view overlooking the lighthouse and Crescent Lake, and over at Swan. To the left, we got to watch the fireworks from the balcony. It was the best fireworks view we had. We were in the pool 2 nights for the fireworks, and it didn't hold a candle to what we saw from the balcony. Woke up every morning looking across Crescent Lake. It was absolutely phenomenal. We ended up with a giant corner room with a fireworks and Crescent Lake view. And as my wife said, anytime we're staying for 8 or 9 days, we get an okay view. If we're going for a short trip, we always get the most amazing rooms ever.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my room didn't have a great view, but it was very close to the elevator, which was nice. So I had ease of access to anything. And, I just have to clearly, Yacht Club is not a DVC resort, and Beach Club is my home resort. But I really do believe that as a beach club owner, or if you're staying at the beach club villas, you really are getting both resorts for staying at Beach Club, because you have all of the amenities for both of those resorts available to you. And Kathleen and I, on our first morning when we drove from her house, we grabbed breakfast at the Allen Compass Market. We wanted to walk over to Beach Club and sit in the solarium because it's just brighter and so pretty over there. That was just so easy because they're minutes away. It was like a 5-minute walk. And the breakfast that I had was delicious. It was like an egg white and tomato and spinach wrap on a whole wheat wrap that came with tater tots, and my iced coffee. And that was really, really good. And the night before, we had eaten at Allen Compass Lounge, and I loved my food. I got the seasonal vegetable flatbread, which was really good. When we went to Cruise Cup, I think the people who ordered food really liked what they got. The service, although our server was like a little, he was like a little bit, he looked like he was grumpy, but he really wasn't. I think that's like part of his shtick, and he was really attentive.
Where's this at? A
being
Cruise
able
Cup?
to-
You're talking
Yeah.
Cruise Cup. Oh, the guy that made the roses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made us roses out of cocktail napkins, and then he had like a rose water spray that he sprayed on it. So that was a nice little touch.
The one you gave Mackenzie came home with her. She is still convinced there is some kind of Disney magic that made the napkin smell like roses. She was blown away.
Well, I mean, she's not wrong. When you have that's, the cast members are the magic. So there was Disney magic on that because he made that and he made it special. So I'm glad that she liked it.
Oh, she took it to dinner. She showed it to all the cast members. She was letting kids at the other tables at Beaches and Cream smell it. It was a big deal.
Aw.
Speaking of Beaches and Cream, Kathleen and I, we hung out at Stormalong Bay on the day that we arrived. We had lunch at Beaches and Cream. That night after Cruise Cup, I went to dinner by myself at Yachtsman Steakhouse. So my point is that I spent a lot of time doing stuff at the 2 resorts. And
we saw you at Yachtsman, by the way, and I couldn't get a picture of you. I was going to take a creepy stalker picture from the window, but it was going to be a picture across somebody else's table at you, and I thought they'd call security if they caught me leaning up against the window and taking a picture of their meal, but we tried.
Emily told me that you were disappointed that my back was to the window.
I was totally disappointed. I was going to take a creeper photo.
But my point is that, I spent a lot of time at that resort, and, we ended up, Kathleen, Scott, and I filmed a Winner Picks Dinner video around Crescent Lake, and we were joined by Tom McPherson from the group. And then also Scott Stapleton from the group was kind enough to, buy us around for that game and that video. I feel like other than for this trip going to Martha's Vineyard and the Beach Club Marketplace, like I hit up every single eatery or place to get a beverage, and it's just great. Like I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I think everything that I ate was pretty good to great everywhere I was. And it had been a long time since I've been at Yachtsman, and I really enjoyed my meal a lot. I mean, the presentation of the meal of my entree could have been better, but as far as the flavor, the quality of the beef, the Brussels sprouts like were amazing. I know that for some people they think that that's ridiculous, but for
That's
those
just
of
a
you who
lie.
understand delicious Brussels sprouts, like these were really good. And Scott agrees with me, right?
Totally. I don't care if it is a steakhouse. I think the Brussels sprouts are the star of the show.
Who are you?
You got to try the Brussels sprouts.
No.
That is Disney magic right there.
Disney magic would be getting me to eat Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, right.
They're amazing.
They were
seriously like
amazing.
them. We went to Yachtsman. I seriously liked the Brussels sprouts more than the actual steak.
Oh, that's your problem.
I'm with Kathleen.
We also ate at Ale and Compass too for breakfast.
Emily had
yeah,
nothing but
that's right.
amazing things to say about Ale and Compass breakfast. I had gone with Mackenzie. That was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had gone with Mackenzie to Winter Garden, which is where she was doing her gymnastics training, and I missed that breakfast, but Emily was blown away by it. She said it was fantastic. The selection was good. The food was excellent. And the price was not bad at all from what she told me.
Best price.
I was telling Amy that was the kind of the original idea of when Clubhouse got started and we ate breakfast at Ale and Compass. I said, I got to let everybody know about this. So that was the original like tip for dining was at Ale and Compass breakfast. And to this day, I still think it's one of the best values on property for you get an entree, you get a drink, and you get a buffet for, is it $20?
We spent like less than $50 for both of us.
Yeah. Buffet, entree, and drink.
I remember when you first started those Scott's tips for dining. I remember sitting at the table and you writing it all out. And after you post it, you're like, oh my God, that says STDs. And I'm like, it's fine. And that's what it's been.
Yeah, but that place I think it's absolutely amazing. I love pretty much every entree I've ever had there. They've got those chocolate waffles.
Those are good.
I know Emily got and you all got the pancakes.
We all got, yeah.
Lemon curd pancakes, blueberry pancakes. I got the shrimp and grits. I love the shrimp and grits there, but there's a lot of really great selections there. And then on top of it, you get a buffet, which is, it's not a full-blown buffet, but they do have sausage gravy, biscuits, pastries, fruit. I think they had some like overnight oats. So it's a pretty substantial buffet, but for that price,
it's the best breakfast on property for that price.
She spent the whole afternoon talking about it.
Well, we have to go now after you go to Chef Mickey's with Scott.
It's a date.
Oh, yeah.
We have to rate the floppy bacon, remember?
And we have to sing Biscuits in the Oven when they all come out.
Just for you, buddy.
Speaking of singing
Biscuits
again,
in the Oven. Oh.
Kathleen, Scott, and I spent the day on Saturday, right? We went to Hollywood Studios on Saturday, and it was really hot this past weekend. So we were looking for places that we can just go for air conditioning. So we started our day by going to the Beauty and the Beast show, which I had not done since my kids were very little. So, I mean, it has to be like, I don't know, 16 years since I've done that thing. But it was sweet. I mean, I laughed because there are a ton of plot holes in this version. Like Maurice is not in this production at all. So they basically say, they show Belle singing this, provincial town. And then the next thing you know, she's at the Beast Castle and they're basically like, so after some circumstances, she ends up here. And they don't name the circumstances.
They're like it was some Craigslist personal ad. She just showed up.
Exactly. So it's like, how did she end up there? And somehow Gaston knew she was there, but we don't know how he knew. because there was no Maurice to come back and, be alarmed that Belle was being held by the Beast.
Yeah,
So,
if that was your first time ever hearing about Beauty and the Beast, you would have been thoroughly confused about everything that was going on.
And the performer who portrayed Gaston, while I mean he had a great voice and he had like this like really deep like bass voice, he could really carry off the Gaston song. He was very tall, and while he was muscular, but he was more of like a tall, lean kind of muscle, not like this big like muscly, like this guy did not have a chest, like
no one does Ozempic like Gaston.
So that was kind of funny to see a very tall, he was like chiseled but not necessarily like bulky the way that Gaston is. So that was funny, but that was fun. And then after we did that, we went over to the Frozen sing along.
Oh
and
boy.
I warned Kathleen and Scott. I was like, I just need to let you know before we go in here that I sing along. I understand the assignment when I walk into this theater.
And out of all 1,452 in the theater, she is the only one that understands that assignment. Just so you know. As everybody, we sat, third row from the back, and
Yes.
Everybody in that entire building turned and looked as if she was the winner of American Idol.
Like she's the performer that's been hiding in the audience the whole time and is about to march up on stage.
Yeah. Love is an open.
I mean, listen, it says it right on the thing. Frozen sing along. It is not my fault or my problem if other people don't realize that is what they're going to.
I mean, I like to sing along. I like to sing along. You're just a little more aggressive.
Seriously, that's fun.
That's a little aggressive.
It was a little aggressive. That's
in the words of Mackenzie at Phantasmic, Amy, we can all see and hear you, right?
Yes.
Yes, but this is a place where that's supposed to happen. And if other people were singing, they wouldn't hear me as much.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have been weird if you hadn't gone and played in the splash pad afterwards. I mean, both of those are for guests 40 inches and under.
I did not do that.
Would have been cool if you did.
Yep, everybody in that building turned around, and I just looked at them and I go, I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, I don't know who she is. Shout out to the historians, though, of that. I don't know. They are hilarious in that show.
It would have been worse if I was completely tone deaf and singing.
You're good.
Or maybe better. Maybe it would be better. It would be funnier if I was tone deaf.
No, you were really good. And honestly, that is exactly what the people in the row in front of us, they turned and they're like, oh my God, she's good. Karaoke night.
I was hoping that they would, throw me a tip to pay for my drink at Brown Derby. Speaking of which, when we were at Brown Derby, I got a drink that was called Absinthe Minded. And I wanted to know, all of the ingredients sounded good, except it had absinthe in it. So I asked our server, who, by the way, Kathleen and I saw. I don't know, Scott, did you tell
I forgot.
Scott? Okay. We saw her on Sunday night when we went to Dahlia Lounge. She was up there with her daughter. But anyway, our server, I asked her, how much you can taste the absinthe. And she was like, well, we're actually out of it. And it completely overpowers the drink and makes it terrible. But it's actually a pretty good drink without it. So the irony was that I had a drink called Absinthe Minded without the absinthe. Because it was absinthe.
It was just absinthe, yeah.
Yes, it was just...
It's perfect then.
For the record, absinthe was only a good choice back in the 1800s before they took out all the psychedelics that were part of the absinthe. Now it's just a terrible alcohol.
Terrible. Which is why I needed to know if it was overpowering. And according to her, yes, it was. So I'm glad that they were out of it because I quite enjoyed it without it. So Phil, why don't you? So you guys did a lot of gymnastics. You and Emily were tag teaming, but you guys went to some parks, right?
We did a little bit. This was truly, I think, the first vacation where we were really not park centric. It was a big change for us. And to the point where we actually asked the kids about halfway through how they were enjoying it, and they loved it. They were perfectly content. Now, with that said, we specifically booked Yacht Club because we wanted access to Stormalong Bay. One of the reasons, just one of the reasons we did this trip. I mean, obviously we wanted Mackenzie to have that opportunity, but we had been going, our last May trip was in Disneyland last year. And we said this year we weren't doing a spring trip. So we had been in December. Then we went to Disneyland. Then we came back to Disney World in December and back to Disney World again in January, also for a gymnastics competition. And one of the things that the kids were most upset about was that they didn't get to do night swimming. Night swimming in their world is just the biggest thing ever. That's what they look forward to. They've got a pool at their disposal. They're at Disney and they can swim until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So we specifically booked Yacht Club for that reason. So we got there Thursday. We immediately ran off to dinner at Trattoria because we were running a little late. We met up with you guys afterwards, and they were just pulling at our sleeves the whole time, wanting to go back and swim. So we left you guys, went back. They swam. They had a good old time. They watched the fireworks from the pool. We got back up to our room and got them started fairly early on Friday. We took them into Magic Kingdom. Started off the day. We walked in. We had an early boarding for Tron. I didn't want to risk it, so I actually bought our way onto it. We're the really early lightning lane. And as we were walking past Space Mountain was only showing a 20-minute wait. I said, let's go. We've got time. If you see 20 minutes at Space Mountain, you just go. So we did that. We did Tron. I forget what else we did. I think we went over to Pirates. We tried to get on Big Thunder, but they closed it down just as we got there. Met up with my friends John and James, who we were having dinner with the following night along with you guys. And then, per your suggestion, went over to Tony's Town Square for lunch, which was a disaster in many different ways. The breadsticks and cheese, phenomenal. Luke's spaghetti and meatballs, excellent. I ordered a chicken Caesar salad because who can mess up a chicken Caesar salad? Well, let me tell you, Tony's Town Square can mess up a chicken Caesar salad. My chicken was so gummy, I actually cut it open to make sure it was cooked. It was that bad.
Phil, why don't you tell them the real reason why you're upset about Tony's?
We're getting there. So when they delivered the breadsticks and boat of cheese to the table, the cheese is obviously an oil-based cheese, and the cheese had dripped down the side. So to paint the picture, the cheese is a white, semi-translucent substance inside the boat.
A little creamy.
A little creamy. And I picked up the cheese, and with it being oily on the outside, I dropped it. Now, the little pour that the cheese comes in weighs 1.5 pounds. It is a solid piece of china. So when it bounces off the table, it makes a sound that snaps every head in the restaurant towards our table. And it spills down the front of my shirt and into my lap. So I am holding one hand against the table, trying to pick it up. I am covered from just below my chest all the way down my right leg and down the center of my pants. All of the cast members come running over. They're throwing napkins, paper napkins, cloth napkins. They're trying to help me clean it up. I'm dabbing at my shorts. You can see they're trying to help clean it up, but they stop short. They're not going to dab my shorts. They get it done. And one of the lead cast members comes over and he says, "Sir, I am so sorry. I saw what happened. We all heard what happened. Is there anything we can do?" And I said, "It's not a big deal. It's my fault. I dropped it. Don't worry about it." And he was just falling over himself. He said, "Did you wreck your shirt? Did you wreck your shorts? We can get new ones for you." And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I don't want shorts from the Emporium. Now, if you want to send me over to Grand Floridian to Vineyard Vines, maybe a pair of shorts, but I don't want what comes out of the Emporium. And I said, "It's fine. It was totally my fault. I'm going to clean it up. I've got a Tide stain stick. This is kind of par for the course for me. I've never owned a white shirt for more than 6 hours without wrecking it. Not a big deal." And he says, make sure I get this right. Now I can't remember. Something along the lines of, "Well, sir, I'm not really sure that's the best place to have that spilled." And you look down and there's just this white stuff all over the front of my shorts. And I said, "You know what? If people are going to judge, just let them judge away." And he just starts laughing and shakes his head. He says, "If you need anything at all, just let us know." and I clean it up as best I can. And even walking out now, I just smell of like this moldy white cheese that you drip the garlic bread in. And there is this stain directly down the front of my shorts with this gelatinous white creamy substance. But that aside, which I do not blame on them, I know you guys like Tony's Town Square. It's going to be a thumbs down for me. It was just not a great lunch. Em said that her salad was okay. Mackenzie didn't eat much because she was heading over to a gymnastics event and didn't want to flip up and down and around in 90-degree heat. But my salad was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Well, we did not send you to Tony's Town Square to get a salad. We sent you there to get chicken parm and to get bread.
It was
garlic breadsticks.
175 degrees in the shade on Friday. There was no way I was eating chicken parm and breadsticks and walking back down Main Street.
I mean, fair enough. You should have taken him up on the free shorts, though. You probably could have pulled off that 2024 Disney World Day Glow
Dear God.
that they have going on.
Look, I got it. He was doing his very best. They were all but begging me to take a shirt and a pair of shorts from them. So hats off to Disney and to the cast member. They saw what happened, and regardless of whether or not the little pouring cup was slippery, it was my fault. I plain dropped it on the table and bounced it into my lap. I'm just not that guy that's going to take him for a free outfit because I'm a klutz.
Phil would have rather had the cheese stain sauce on his crotch than play at the parks tattooed on his from the shorts.
Why would I get it on the shorts? I could just have that tattooed.
Fortunately, our meal at Rosa was much better than that experience that
we had some very good dining experiences otherwise. I mean, Trattoria the first night was a hit, I've got to say. And I had a friend text, I think, last night who was making some ADRs and asked if Trattoria was worth it. I would always recommend Trattoria 10 times out of 10. We have been going there every single trip since 2014, I guess. Mackenzie had just turned 2. So every trip, multiple times a year since 2014, we have gone through Trattoria. Through various chefs, through various servers. The only complaint I have, and I know Scott disagrees, is I want that olive tamponade back in the oil rather than the garlic. But other than that, we have never had a bad meal there. Never once, not once have I had a bad meal at Trattoria. And I know I can pan some restaurants pretty hard, and I've done so in the past. I'm a little snotty when it comes to food. But Trattoria is just a hit. We have never gone wrong there, ever. I mean, Luke all but licked the plate clean again with the truffle gnocchi. He kills for that.
That's what I got last time. That's always a solid option, and it never breaks your bank account.
It's one of our favorites.
Yeah, it's always been good. Even breakfast. I mean, I love dinner there, but I think even the breakfast that we've had everything's been good.
We did the breakfast back when it was a character breakfast, and it was excellent. I think the only thing Trattoria suffers from is the fact that you have to walk there and know it's there because it's not easy to get to from the park. And I think they phone it in the restaurants in the park. We've said this for years. If you want a truly amazing meal, you've got to go to the resorts. And Trattoria is just a solid Italian meal. I think it's the best Italian meal on property.
I would agree with that.
I would agree. I mean, I've been there twice now, I think, in the past year, and I really liked what I had last time, the night before the race. What did I have? It was like a shrimp dish, right? With pasta is what I had.
The shrimp pappardelle.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've gotten that before.
Yeah,
I think
that
last
was really
time.
good.
And their steak with vegetables and potato wedges is excellent as well. I think in January, I think I got the steak and Em got the shrimp. And I think we've hit that age now where we each order something the other likes and then we split it in half and trade the plates across the table. I'm not sure if that happens like at the age of 40 or what the deal is, but that's our new thing. But no, it's excellent. So after the disastrous white gelatinous cheese incident, Emily took Mackenzie and went off to Winter Garden to check her in for gymnastics. And Luke and I took the monorail because he wanted to walk through Epcot. So we took the Epcot monorail over to Epcot. We walked through the park. He wanted a picture of he and I with Walt at the statue. This is why I love the boy. He said, we're walking through. And I said, just out of curiosity, I mean, I know it's really hot. Why'd you want to walk through Epcot? He said, because sometimes it's just nice to walk through the park and take it all in. Like, oh, that's my boy. He got it right. And then we went over to the pool and just hung out there the rest of the day, just he and I, till about, maybe 3:15 or so. And then we came down and met you guys, and you already explained all that. The rest was kind of DVC meetup history.
Yeah.
We went to Rosa.
Well, yeah, we went,
Yeah.
actually, that night we went to Beaches and Cream for dinner, which was excellent as always. I got the No Way Jose. In full disclosure, I ordered some tater tots and took Luke's tomato soup because I still was not feeling so great after that salad. It really kind of turned me a little bit. But we did that, then went night swimming. Saturday, I went with Mackenzie. Emily and Luke hung out at the pool all day long. Did not go anywhere near a park, and I thought, sure, she's a flowering garden lover. I thought, sure, she was going to take them into the park. They just hung at Stormalong Bay all day long until we got back. And then we met with you guys at Rosa, and that's just a whole other meal. I mean, we love Rosa. And we got Jordan.
Mhm.
Jordan number
Mhm.
2.
Well, he's number 1 now, I think.
He's
'Cause
number
he got-
1 in your list?
He got a little upset that Scott called him number 2. So
Well, are you saying that just to deflect attention from Jordan number 1 because Scott's next to you?
Number
Or
2 work for. Another Austin Powers. Sorry.
so it was us, and then my friends John and James, and they're a whole lot of fun to hang out with. They're
Mhm.
quiet, but once they open up, they're amazing.
So I'm going to make a bold statement, and there will probably be people listening that will either disagree with me or not believe me, but the margarita that I had at Rosa, I think is the best margarita on property.
Yeah, I've been saying that since we've been going to Rosa. I think it's way better.
What did you get, Amy? Was it the top shelf? I forget what it was called.
Yeah, I think it was just called the Top Shelf, and it was the smoothest margarita that I have ever had. It was outstanding.
I've tried every margarita there and every flavor that they have, and it blows La Cava out the window.
I mean, is there truly anything negative that we could say about Rosa Mexicano?
I can't.
I don't get there enough. That's the only negative thing I can say. I don't live close enough to eat there every other week.
Yeah, that everything from beginning to end, drink to dessert. And did Emily eat her key lime pie?
She
I know
did. She took it back to the
home.
pool and ate it while sitting next to the pool at Stormalong Bay.
Yeah, that key lime pie is it's just to die for.
I feel like we didn't really talk about our meal that much, and I think part of it was because, Phil, you were dealing with your flight change situation.
Oh, we're getting into that, are we? Are we at that point of the episode?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet, because I just want to say, because we didn't really talk about the food. I mean, we had very little conversation. I mean, your friends, James and John, we talked a little bit about their skillet that they got, but the ahi tuna tacos that I got to start were so delicious. Absolutely would order those again. And that chicken enchilada, man, that was, and what's kind of like, it looked like it was going to land like a ton of bricks in my stomach, and it really didn't. It was like not heavy. It wasn't too rich. It was so good.
So I usually get the sampler, the same as I think Scott got, Luke got it, and the mole is to die for, but it is much heavier. The cheese is very good. I ended up just getting 2 of the chicken enchiladas because I was dealing with some other issues off to the side and didn't want anything really heavy in my stomach. We'll get to that later. And I got the 2, and I was perfectly comfortable. They are just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I got, and they were so, so good. So I would absolutely recommend to anybody listening. I mean, because I ended up, and we can talk about that after you talk about your flight situation, but I ended up spending a lot of time at Coronado Springs the next night. So I can do a little comparison after when we get into
No, we don't have
Coronado
to talk about the
Springs.
flight issue. We can just glaze right over that. Why don't you do the comparison?
No, we can talk about
No,
the
we don't
flight.
want to make the mistake of forgetting about it.
Ouch. Okay,
It was a good mistake.
Oh yeah, it turned out to be a really, really good.
Depends on your point of view, I suppose. So my wife was delighted with said mistake. My children were delighted with said mistake. I will preface this by saying, for those who don't know me, I am a perfectionist. 100%. I have a touch of OCD, as many who have met me and eaten dinner with me know. How would we describe my personality? I don't want to use the overused term alpha, but uh, I don't make mistakes. I don't make mistakes, and I hate making mistakes to the point where I will get viscerally ill if I make a mistake. And we are getting ready to leave for dinner on Saturday night, and I get an email from JetBlue saying, "Hey, prepare for your flight from Providence to Orlando." And I look at it again because that can't be right. Someone clearly made a mistake. I'm not flying from Providence to Orlando. I'm flying from Orlando to Providence, and I must have read it backwards. And I look at it again, and it says, "Prepare for your flight from Providence to Orlando." I don't need a flight from Providence to Orlando. I'm in Orlando. I need a flight from Orlando to Providence. Oh, dear God, what did I do? And Emily must have sensed it in the room. I immediately wanted to run to the bathroom and vomit. This is how I react to making a mistake. And I can't do this in front of the kids because they're going to freak out. And I don't want to stress her out because she's getting the kids ready for dinner. So I just pick up my phone and I walk out to the deck and I close the door. And she knows something is up. She opens the door and she says, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Not a problem. I got to take care of something. Just trust me on this. Go get the kids ready. I'll be back in a few minutes." So while we were planning to come down, I was looking at multiple different carriers. I was looking at Southwest and American and JetBlue and Delta, trying to figure out who had the best flights for pricing and for convenience. I didn't want to do a layover with the kids. I had to get the times right to make sure we get down here at the right time. So I was jumping between 3 or 4 websites, flipping from Providence to Orlando and Orlando to Providence and comparing the flight times. And when I booked the return flight, I booked Providence to Orlando. I didn't hit the buttons in the right order. So now here I am on Saturday night, realizing that my flight out on Monday is not a flight out. It's a flight to Orlando. So now I've got to get JetBlue on the phone. JetBlue is kind enough to refund the money, but in doing so, they somehow lock up my travel bank. So now they have to put a supervisor on, gets IT on the phone. IT has to create a whole new travel bank. While we're looking at flights, I need to have a whole new login. I've got to go through password authentication, try and link it back to Emily's account. Now all of the funds are locked up. It turns out for me to switch my flight on Monday, on Saturday night, is $2,600 to fly back to Providence. So now I'm just sick to my stomach. Not only did I mess up pretty big, I messed up to the tune of $2,600 to get back home. Finally figure out that, and this is over the course of what, guys, 2.5 hours, give or take, that it's cheaper for me to fly back on Tuesday morning and book a night at the Grand Floridian overlooking Seven Seas Lagoon than it is for me to fly out on Monday. While all of this is going on, I have to arrange for the house sitter who's with the dogs to stay another night, except she's leaving for Mexico 24 hours after we get home, so she's got to get back home. I've got to switch out the car service. I'm supposed to be leading a mentor call for work for the entire industry on Tuesday morning, which I now can't attend. So I walk into Rosa just sick to my stomach, didn't sleep for 2 nights. It was a disaster. But if you ask my wife, we got to watch the fireworks from the balcony at Grand Floridian, so it worked out just perfect. The downside to that is, guess what is her favorite resort now?
Please tell us. What is it?
No, you know, Scott, I actually look to you. How would you describe the Grand Floridian?
Well, I would have to say that's the Grand Floridian, the crown jewel, Walt Disney World's flagship resort. Welcome home.
Emily would agree. We walk in and she looks out the balcony and she says, "Yeah, I got to say, I think I'm with Scott on this one." And she starts pointing out everything in the room, from the extra fluffiness of the towels, to the robe, to the colors, to the view, to the bath fixtures, to the little birds in the chandelier that are brightening the lights. She is absolutely in love with this resort, to the point that we're now looking, when we go down in December, she wants me to knock 2 nights off of Polynesian and switch them over to a 1-bedroom at the Grand Floridian.
I totally agree with her.
So to make matters worse, we now fly out on Tuesday instead of Monday. We get to the airport at 8:30, I guess, for an 11 a.m. flight. They put us on the plane. No problem. push back from the gate, taxi out to the runway. And as we're taxiing, I'm watching these bright blue skies turn an ugly shade of black. We get out short of the runway, and the pilot comes on. He says, "I'm sorry, a big line of thunderstorms just came over. We're going to have to sit here." We sit there for over 2 hours. Finally, he says, "Look, we got to reroute. There's a hole in the storms. We can go. We're number one for takeoff. Flight attendants, sit down. We're going." They get us right to the edge of the runway, number one. And he says, "Nope, sorry, folks, can't take off. They just shut us down again. It's a ground stop on everything. Wind just changed, and there's a tornado warning up." 2.5 hours in, he pulls us back to the gate. We wait a half hour for them to open up a gate. They get us off the plane. They put us back on the plane. They go to push back. He says, "Well, sorry, folks, due to the delay, I'm now going to be over my time before I land. We need to call and get another pilot." We then sit on the plane for another hour and a half or 2 hours before a new pilot comes on. So my mistake not only cost flight changes and a room at the Grand Floridian and probably future stays or more points at the Grand Floridian, it also cost us another 6 hours on Tuesday to get home. So it was it was quite the adventure.
And that was just the cash side. Wait till you stay in the DVC side of Grand Floridian.
Yeah, she can't wait.
I mean, the room, it does look similar, but it's
I'm not going to lie. We talked about it. I am holding out for the Poly Tower. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it's the same association, but she's already making noise that if the Poly isn't the same association, those points are probably going bye-bye, and we're going to own over at the Floridian because we sat on that deck at night watching the fireworks. The only thing we missed was the electrical water pageant because there was weather that night as well. But I'm taking video, and you can hear the steam engine in the background. You can hear the noises coming out of the park. You've got a view of Happily Ever After. You can see the Contemporary. You can see all the boats. You can see the castle. You can see the train station. And as I'm taking a video of the fireworks, here come 2 monorails crossing in front of us. There is not a more quintessential Disney experience than sitting on that deck.
I know you mentioned that the kids were tired and you guys didn't get to go to the courtyard pool at night for the fireworks.
Actually, well, we did get to the courtyard pool at night, but that view from the balcony was just so amazing that we decided to watch it from there because we had a completely unobstructed view of the fireworks overhead. But we actually went to the beach pool in the afternoon and let them play because it has the splash pad and everything going on. And then that night we went and sat in the hot tub and played in the pool at the courtyard pool. And then it started to rain on us in the courtyard pool. So we went back to the room, gave them a shower, and then put them on the balcony and let them watch the fireworks from there.
Well, maybe next time you guys can try the courtyard pool for the fireworks.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So enough about my mistakes. How did your vacation end?
So my vacation ended because Kathleen had a former coworker that she used to work with in Ohio staying at Coronado Springs. Kathleen, Scott, and I did a winter picks dinner, which will be posted on the YouTube channel. We did that during the day. Scott wasn't feeling great, so he left, and Kathleen and I headed over to the Dahlia Lounge at Coronado Springs to meet up with her friend Tammy. That was my first time up to Dahlia Lounge, and we sat up there and had a couple drinks and sat outside overlooking, that view there is really spectacular. You've got views of every park except the Magic Kingdom from there, and they're all so close. I mean, you kind of because I frequently, when I'm passing Coronado Springs, I'm passing it on Disney Transportation. You don't realize how close things are to each other, and when I was up on the top of it, it's like you can't believe how close the Swan Reserve is. It's right there. But anyway, so
We've talked about this before. Coronado is probably the best, most centrally located resort on property. If there were ever a resort that has the best chance of being the next DVC, it would be a changeover at that resort.
something that I commented on to Kathleen was, as I was up there, though, like looking at all of the, everything below, all of the views, is that, and we've talked about this before, how before Riviera was built, the only like tower type hotel was Contemporary, which also, it just doesn't feel as tall. I don't know if it's because of the shape, but where it's situated, you don't really see much other than Seven Seas Lagoon and Magic Kingdom, or Bay Lake if you're on the other side. But with Riviera and the Grand Destino Tower, you now have these expansive views. And it's just interesting because it's like, I wonder what Walt Disney would have thought of that, because sightlines are so much of something that he, would think about. And I wonder how he would feel about being able to see Animal Kingdom, Blizzard Beach, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios all in one, it's very cool looking, but just again, from that like immersive type of being in a bubble type of experience, like I
For the guy who
wonder
created
how
the Utilidors specifically because they didn't want to see a spaceman walking through Frontierland.
Right. So like you're looking and you're like, oh, there's Blizzard Beach and there's Galaxy's Edge and there's the Eiffel Tower. So all in one shop. And it is very cool. So we had drinks. Kathleen unfortunately had to leave after that because she had to go home and go to work the next day. But I decided to stay. I had brought my bags and debated just leaving when she left to go to. I had checked out of Yacht Club and I was going to a Marriott that's 5 minutes from the airport because I had a 6 a.m. flight the next day. But it had just turned into such a nice evening. It had been so hot. I just didn't feel like I was like just not ready to leave the Disney bubble. And so I got my bags from her car and they were kind enough to hold them for me at Coronado Springs, even though I wasn't staying there. And then I headed over to Three Bridges where I had an appetizer. And while I was sitting there, again, I was thinking like, oh, I should probably be going to bed because I have to wake up so early. But I still just did not, I couldn't pull myself out of the Disney bubble yet. And I decided to check my phone to see if I could get into Maya Grill because it has been, I mean, have not been there since I was, I don't know, like 23 years old. And so I was able to get on the walk up wait list and I think I had to wait about 40 minutes. So I had my appetizer and a drink at Three Bridges, and then I headed over to Maya Grill when my table was ready. I had the steak fajitas there, and they were good. They were very like they were good, and if I hadn't just been at Rosa the night before, I would have thought, wow, these are really good. But my meal at Rosa was definitely better. The service at Rosa was 100 times better. My server at Maya Grill was just he was not personable at all. And I was by myself. So he could have struck up conversation. He could have done anything to just kind of be friendly to me, but he really wasn't that attentive. And my margarita was not that good. The decor in there is very cool. And I feel like if I was staying there, Maya Grill would be a great option for dining if you just want to stay at the resort. It's definitely not a destination restaurant where if you're not staying there to go out of your way to dine there, because I think of all of the Mexican restaurants on property, it's probably the least impressive. But I will say it was a really fun night to kind of start with drinks at Dahlia Lounge, head over to Three Bridges, go to Maya Grill. If I wasn't exhausted and full, I might have grabbed a drink at the Barcelona Lounge, but at that time I just grabbed it's time to grab my bags and head to the Marriott. And I didn't get there until 11 at night. So I only slept for 4.5 hours. But it was the right decision because this hotel, like it was the darkest gray corridor with a dark gray carpet. It was just dark and I couldn't let my vacation end and then go to this place while it was still daylight out. I was basically, let me just go there, lay down on the bed, go to sleep, get up, and hop on the shuttle, which I did. And I've never seen the airport more chaotic than I saw it at 4 a.m. I will never do that again. It was a fun experience. I mean, I do think that Coronado Springs has a lot going for it. It's not my type of place to stay. It's the Grand Destino Tower it's massive. It is like it's this massive and it just as nice as it is, it's just not where I want to stay when I'm at Disney. I like kind of like the smaller, quainter type of immersive themed hotels, which you can get if you stay over at the Casitas or Ranchos over there, but having that tower like looming over everything definitely changes the landscape there a little. And the one thing also that was cool was as I was leaving from Three Bridges to walk over to Maya Grill, there was a rocket launch, so I got to see that. That was pretty cool. That's how I that's how basically I ended my vacation. Was we spent the day doing our Crescent Lake Winter Picks dinner, and then I headed over to Coronado Springs with Kathleen and spent far more time there than I expected to. But it was lovely.
That wasn't a rocket launch. That was actually the original plane that Phil should have booked for his trip home.
Oh my gosh.
There it is.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm finally feeling better about this. Thanks, Scott.
Well, I mean, like I said to you the other night, any mistake that lands you at the Grand Floridian, that's the right type of mistake to make.
Oh, without a doubt. And I said that to the kids too. They got to stay somewhere they had never stayed before, see a view they had never seen before. It was an absolutely incredible extra night, as extra nights go. But I cannot make you fully appreciate what happens when I make a mistake. I hate it.
As we were waiting to get into Rosa, Scott and Mackenzie were talking about something. I don't know what you guys were talking about, but the Grand Floridian came up, and Scott's like, "Go tell your dad that you want to stay at the Grand Floridian. You have to stay there." So
yeah, she said we've never
half
been there
hour
before.
later.
Yeah, it's just how it worked out.
It was incredible to me that, and I looked everywhere. And what it came down to is, I was like, all right, we could go over to, I think, they had some values. I didn't pay those much attention. Then I looked at a couple of moderates and they were decent. To stay at Yacht Club another night, which Amy will tell you, we got a phenomenal rate on. To stay one additional night at Yacht Club was $900. For me to stay a night at Grand Floridian was less than $600. And it was a $20 difference between the resort view and the lake view. It was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the long-term financial effects that this mistake.
Yeah, that's actually got me a little concerned. When I say Emily fell in love with it, Emily fell in love with it. And you guys know me. I am a Poly guy through and through. The Polynesian was always my dream resort to stay at just once. We ended up owning DVC there. We've spent so many nights there. We have amazing memories. I can't wait to see the new tower. I hope against hope that it is the same association. But, and it pains me to say this, Scott is right. There's just something different about the Floridian. The service, the people, the amenities, the robes are fluffier. The towels are fluffier. There are more Disney H2O products in that room than any other deluxe resort. It is without a doubt just a half step above anywhere else we have ever stayed. And we have stayed, I think, at every other deluxe resort except for Riviera and Saratoga. There's just something about the Floridian that is better than Beach Club. It's better than Yacht Club. It's better than Boardwalk. It's better than Poly. It's better than Contemporary. And I love all of those, and I would stay at them again in a heartbeat. But the Floridian just does it a little bit bigger.
So what you're saying is that if the Polynesian is the same association, you won't be buying points at Grand Floridian.
Remains to be seen.
Okay.
Just remember, happy wife, happy life. I'm thinking about you, Emily.
She's quite happy at the Polynesian.
But you'll be looking at the Grand Floridian every time you stay there.
I'll say it again. It's just that little 1% nicer than everything else. And I never thought I would say that.
Every time we're at the Polynesian, Scott says, just look at her over there.
Everybody's looking at the castle and I'm looking at the Grand Floridian. I'm like, isn't she beautiful?
It's just different. And I did not expect that, right? Deluxe resorts are deluxe resorts. And we have all stayed in amazing deluxe resorts. I love Boardwalk. I love Yacht Club. I love the Polynesian. I like Contemporary and Bay Lake Tower.
One of my favorite.
Something magical.
My favorite stories was, I think, were we at the Polynesian and the little girl was talking to her dad?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was hilarious.
And I happened to be standing close enough to where I could overhear the conversation. And all you hear is, Daddy, look at the castle. Isn't it beautiful? And she is looking directly at the Grand Floridian. One of the best memories I have. It was hilarious.
So yes, in the end, the mistake turned out well. We'll see if I still feel the same way when the credit card bill comes in.
Well, I think it was a great weekend. I enjoyed it very much. It felt, even though it was a shorter trip, it kind of felt like it lasted for a long time, like in a good way. So, Phil, thank you for having this great idea that I decided to ride tailcoats on.
I
And
think it worked out rather well.
yeah, it really did. So, until next time.
So when are y'all coming back? That's the question.
We miss you already.
Well, you're not going to see me until we get on our cruise in Fort Lauderdale at the end of August. And then I'm not back at Disney until Clubhouse weekend, which is the end of September.
As of right now, unless something changes, you guys will not see me until about a week and a half before Christmas.
That's horrible.
And I won't see you then because I am there the weekend before you
Right.
get there.
Yeah, we're typically there the same weekend you're going to be there. Just, again, gymnastics gets in the way, so we have other commitments we need to attend to first. So we're pushing that trip back about a week later than we usually do.
Well, Kathleen and Scott, you know that you always have an invitation to come stay here.
We were
Airplanes
just saying,
fly from Orlando to...
we haven't been to New York City in a while, so we've been wanting to get up there, and we've never been to Rhode Island.
Well, I mean, according to the most recent survey, the only place worse than New Jersey for tourists is Rhode Island. We ranked number 1 in the country, so.
No. New Jersey was 7th. The 7th rudest state.
It's not something to be proud of. Now, number 1, that is something to be proud of.
Well, maybe we have to plan something to come up and see you guys.
There is a Rosa Mexicano in New York.
There is.
There is.
All right, guys. Well, I'll give Amy her intro. Thank you for listening. If you could be so kind, head on over to Apple Podcasts, give us a like, 5-star review, share us with all your friends. We'd appreciate it. Amy?
And don't forget to join the shenanigans over at DVC Clubhouse on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.
Happily